Hi everybody, I hope you're well. I am Grange, a musician, songwriter, neurodiversity advocate and international public speaker. It's a privilege today to film this keynote for Neurodiversity Pride Day, which is an incredible cause and an incredible day where we celebrate those diverse voices, those who are neurodivergent, those who think differently, those who have so many competitive advantages. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about my journey, my story, the adversity I overcame, and some of the successes I've had recently. I'm also going to talk to you a bit about some of the strengths of being neurodivergent and what we can bring to society. So, without further ado, I'm going to speak to you a little bit today about where it all started for me, which was feeling misunderstood, full of anger, despair, and frustration. These are horrible feelings to feel, especially when you are neurodivergent. I was permanently excluded from 2 schools. Not just 1, but 2. I was sent to a pupil referral unit, which is where you go in the UK when you can't manage in mainstream school or they can't support you, and when you get excluded from mainstream school. I also was suffering massively with depression and anxiety. My depression was really bad, as was my anxiety. Biting my nails, playing with my hair, knotting my hair. It was really taking its toll on me. Massively. I also then felt very suicidal, because of the amount of years that I was feeling frustrated and not understood as well. I was about to take my own life one day when a guy, complete stranger, grabbed my neck, grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back. And he told me about his life and all the stuff he had been through. And he was actually a homeless guy who was neurodivergent as well and had never been supported in society. He sat me down, he spoke to me, and it was such a surreal feeling. It was for a first time in my life that I had felt almost heard and understood by somebody. You would think it would be maybe my mum or my dad or a friend or a teacher, but actually it was a complete stranger and a homeless guy. And I could really relate to him and he could relate to me. And he kept echoing the words to me, "I'm still here, I'm still here." And I thought, wow, he is still here. He's overcome so much adversity to be this strong. But also, why should he be here? Why should I still need to be here in this position? Why should we need to be in this position, both of us? Just because we're neurodivergent and think differently. So this day was a day where my life sort of changed. But before that, just to go back to a few more points, I was in and out of trouble with police. A lot of the time I was drug dealing and doing all the wrong things. And yeah, I was on NHS waiting lists for 5 years. 5 years where I just wasn't supported or understood, and there was just nothing there for me. No guidance, no care, and I had no trust in them. I eventually went private. And when I got my private diagnosis, it was a huge relief. I now knew for all these years why I'd been so misunderstood, why I struggled, why I acted the way I did, why I thought the way I did. This was a huge point for me. Another huge thing, though, was the feeling of being a bit scared, a bit nervous. Because when we look at the title of ADHD, attention, deficit, hyperactivity, disorder. Deficit and disorder. The D words. Negative words. There is so many negative words that surround, that swamp us neurodivergent people and the language that surrounds it. It's not a disorder. It's not a deficit. It's very much a gift and a strength, which I will come on to speak about soon. So, when I went to my pupil referral unit, I found music. Music was incredible for me. It was all the negative thoughts just evaporated from my mind. And I just loved doing it. I didn't care how good or bad I was. I just loved doing it. So I filmed a few songs, a few music videos, and they aired on YouTube. I then had the local BBC reach out to me to say they would love to feature my music. I was so excited. I agreed. And I said to them, can you feature my story too? And I told them about my journey. And they just couldn't believe it. They said, we would love to feature this. Thank you for being so brave. Thank you for speaking about it. So I did. We filmed it, the clip aired, and I could not believe the response I got from parents saying about their sons, their daughters could relate, their brother, their sister. There was just a massive community that come out and spoke to me and applauded me for speaking about my neurodivergence. I have ADHD and dyspraxia. After the BBC clip, I then had teachers reach out to me, and this was the ironic thing. Someone who's been excluded from school for twice was now going into schools and speaking to students. The teacher said they had never seen the students so engaged. And it was at this point that I found my passion for public speaking. So at the end of 2020, start of 2021, I joined LinkedIn. People were saying, you need to get on LinkedIn, Jay. You need to connect with the big players in the game, the big charities, the big corporates. So I did, and I shared my story. And up until today, it has just completely taken off. Completely. I've spoken for the United Nations and for UNESCO to over 5,000 people. I've worked internationally with corporates such as Metro Bank, Harvey Nichols, News UK, and many more. I featured on Channel 5, on Kiss FM, France Televisions even, internationally. I co-founded the first ever National Neurodiversity Youth Council. I'm part of Sadiq Khan's Mayor of London's Violence Reduction Unit, Young Persons Action Group, where we reduce violence in London. And I also was a National Diversity Award finalist last year for the Positive Role Model category for age. And this event was great. It was celebrating the best of British diversity in one room. And it was incredible to see how many people were at the event and people that are doing so many strands of great work. So this is about me, someone who had no hope, no support, no guidance, who got kicked out of 2 schools, who went to court, who had encounters with the police, and who was only seconds away from not even being here today. To now, a guy who spoke for the United Nations, who has worked internationally with corporates on neuro inclusion, and has totally changed his life around. Just one word here. If you're struggling in life, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Trust me. There is always light. Years ago, I thought there'd be no hope for me. Now look at where I am. So thank you so much for listening about my journey. I'm now going to talk to you a bit about what neurodiversity is. Now, neurodiversity describes the idea that people interact and experience with the world around them in many different ways. There's no one right way of thinking, learning, and differences are not viewed as deficits. Neurodiversity is an essential form of human diversity. Like we have different races, like we have different genders, we need those different minds to make the world work. It's an essential form of diversity. Over 40% of business owners have ADHD or dyslexia. 40%. And neurodiversity commonly includes people with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, Tourette, dyscalculia, and dyspraxia. I'm just going to quickly talk to you about the strengths of each of the conditions. ADHD, intense energy and completing urgent tasks. Multitasking and task switching. Great memory and observational skills. A bit embarrassing, but when I was very young, I knew the whole London Underground map. And I genuinely believe that's because of my ADHD. Visible enthusiasm. Creative problem solvers. The perseverance we have having ADHD. And working under pressure. Thinking outside the box. Autism. Intense hyperfocus. Observational skills. Determination. Creativity. Imaginative thinking. Analytical and critical thinking. Value-driven. Integrity. Honesty. The ability to work unsupervised. And strong visual skills. Dyscalculia. Great at problem solving. Strategic thinking. Intuitive ability. Practical ability. And creativity again. You'll find one of the biggest strengths about neurodiversity is the creativity, the thinking outside the box. Dyslexia. Dyslexics, the creative thinking again, the problem solving, the good at storytelling. That's why you see so many dyslexic authors. Strong visual thinkers, ability to think three-dimensionally, great at maths and mechanical thinking, and strong verbal skills. And lastly, dyspraxia. I'm dyspraxic as well. You know, it's a condition that affects physical coordination, which makes, somebody causes a person to perform less well than expected for their age and may appear to move clumsily. But creativity is a massive strength to having dyspraxia. Good at strategic thinking, holistic thinking, and also high levels of literacy. And that's why I think I do my public speaking. And I've always been great at creative writing in school. So just quickly as well, just a few, comments about examples of coexisting conditions. Now, 30 to 50% of people with ADHD also have ASD. Those who are dyslexic, there's a 15 to 40% chance of having ADHD. And those with dyscalculia, for example, it's a 20 to 40% chance they have dyslexia too. There is a lot of coexisting conditions, co-occurring conditions, which is very important. So I just wanted to bring that up with you. Again, just a few stats here on neurodiversity and employment in the UK. Neurodivergent people are more likely to be unemployed than people with any other disability. Even though I don't see neurodiversity as a disability, that's what it's classed as legally. Unemployment for neurodivergent adults runs at least as 30 to 40%, which is 3 times the rate of people with disabilities and 8 times the rate as those who are neurotypical, who don't have a neurodivergent condition. Only 21% of autistic people in the UK are in employment. They are the least likely to be in work of any other group. But let's switch it on its head. Let's speak positively here. When companies embrace neurodiversity, they gain competitive advantages in many areas. Productivity, innovation, culture, talent retention. And a report by JP Morgan recently found that professionals in its Autism at Work initiative made fewer errors and were actually 90 to 140% more productive than other employees. And as I said before, around 40% of business owners are neurodivergent, which just goes to show the amazing talents and skills that are just being lost or overlooked. Neurodiversity, as I've said many times on here, it has so many strengths. I love being neurodivergent. I'm proud of it. We talk about Neurodiversity Pride Day. I have pride. I am proud to be neurodivergent. It makes me who I am. It's helped me along the way. It's actually very much been a strength for me. It's got me to where I am today. I couldn't imagine my life without ADHD and dyspraxia. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be Jay Grange. I like to say we're born to be different because the same's overrated. So much so that I've actually got it here on my neck. I am very big on the difference is strength. And I'm just going to leave you with one quote here, which goes perfectly with what I just said. And that is, strength lies in difference and not in similarity. And another thing I'd say, finally, is neurodiversity is only a disability if people, systems and society make it one. So please, let's not make it one. Happy Neurodiversity Pride Day, everybody. My name's Jay Grange. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, Jay Grange, or visit my website, jgrangeofficial.com. Thank you so much.